Like, I get that there's a bit of a negative connotation of like, oh, you're a dumb jock or something. But I would have thought that like jock would have meant like, oh, you're an athlete, which isn't that a good thing? Like, I'm kind of confused right now. Is that not a good thing? You know? And Hank, kind of turns back and he's like, dude, like, why? Like, why are you like making a problem with me? I don't have a problem with you. Like, you're kind of the one that's making this into something. Because Hank really did believe like, I'm not the one doing anything. It's like 100% this guy who's making it something, you know? And, the kid's just like, well, like, you're just looking like a dumb jock. Oh, isn't that right, guys? And he turns around, and there's two other emo kids, and they look very similar to the main emo kid, but they kind of just, they're dressed slightly different, but really, I mean, it's funny how, like, I saw this on South Park, but it's funny how, like, nonconformists all dress the same. I'm just like, well, I mean, you are conforming to something, but anyways, right? So the other two kids, the other emo kids, are kind of there along too, laughing, and Hank is starting to like get upset by this because he doesn't really care about like these random kids what they think, except he's got three kids standing there pointing at him, laughing in his face when Hank didn't deserve it. Like Hank was thinking like, look, if I deserve this, if I was being like an absolute like if I was being a jerk to them, or for some reason I actually did something, sure, maybe I deserve this. But Hank's just thinking to himself like, dude, I don't deserve this. I was literally just chilling here. I actually bumped into this kid. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, my fault. Once again, my fault. But that's when Hank turned the tables on the emo kid. And the thing is, right, the emo kid was wearing a band t-shirt. And the thing about band t-shirts is, you don't necessarily need to know everything about some place that you rep. Like, if you wear a t-shirt that's from Starbucks and someone's like, okay, well then name all the flavors of like cappuccino you can get. It doesn't have to be like that. But the thing is, a lot of people wear band t-shirts because the band t-shirts look sick, and they don't know any of the songs from the band, which, I guess is fine. But like at the end of the day, a lot of people will kind of pretend to know it and not actually know it. So, Hank was like, well, screw it, bro. He's like, all right, buddy. And he looks at the main emo kid, and the main emo kid looks at him back. And he's like, all right, buddy, name me 3 songs from that band. And he points to the emo kid's t-shirt. And I don't know, maybe it was like Nirvana or something, like one of those kind of like t-shirts or whatever, and the emo kid looks at him and he has this kind of look of shock, this look of, oh my God, like you caught me. Kind of the look of like, man got caught in a trap right here type of look. And the emo kid's kind of just like, how about you name me 3 songs from this band, bro? And the emo kid turns to look back at his emo kid friends as kind of like, oh, what's their reaction to that sick burn? And they kind of just look at him blankly. I think the emo kid was kind of expecting he would turn around, he'd look back to his friends, and he'd be like, oh yeah, wasn't that a crazy burn? I totally got them. But his friends look back at him kind of just like, dude, like, I don't know how to break it to you, but you didn't get him. So the emo kid turns back around. He's like, I don't need to do anything you say, bro. I'm not going to conform to your standards. And then the two emo kids were like, yeah, that's right on, bro. You're so right. And they like dap him up. And Hank at this point he's just so done. He's just like, bro, because he realizes, like, Hank's like, you know what? I'm not going to fight with these kids. These kids are obviously a lost cause. This is not worth my time. So Hank gets up, he turns around, and he kind of says like, whatever, man, like, go live your life. Hank turns around, starts to walk away. And that's when he feels a tug on his pants. And he turns around and he sees the emo kid failing to pull down his pants. So basically the emo kid couldn't he couldn't let Hank just leave by himself. Like, he couldn't let him just do that. So when Hank turned around and started to walk away, the emo kid like went to jump and try and pull down his pants to like pants him, to embarrass him, to like impress his emo kid friends and be like, oh my God, I totally owned him, dude. So at this point, like, Hank is like, dude, stop pulling down my pants, bro. And the emo kid's like, oh, sorry, I just slipped. And he's like, And his emo kid friends laugh along as well. At this point, Hank's getting really annoying. He's like, sorry, bro, like, I'm not into you like that. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, you're trying to pull down my pants. So you're telling me you're not trying to get a peek? And the emo kid's like, dude, it's not like that. I was trying to pants you. And Hank's like, yeah, you wanted to pants me so you could see my bare bottom. Did you really want to see my bare bottom that bad? And at this point, the other two emo kids start laughing a little bit. And the main emo kid turns around and he's like, stop laughing, it's not funny. Turns back around, he's like, dude, you don't know what you just did. And the emo kid walks up to Hank with his chest puffed out. He's like, bro, you literally don't know what you just did. You don't know who you're messing with. Okay, I don't know if he started to tear up or anything, but at the exact same time, the mall cop that happened to be like going around the mall to make sure that nothing's like happening looks into the Hot Topic and sees basically this kid walk up to this other kid with his chest puffed out. So the mall cop outside kind of slows down walking and looks inside. And sure enough, right, Hank is like, hey, look, I'm not looking for any trouble. The emo kid's like, yeah, that's what I thought. You're freaking scared, bro. Don't tell me otherwise. You're freaking scared. And at this point, Hank's like, dude, I'm not scared. It's not like that. I just don't want any trouble. Like, you're not worth my time. And he's like, I am worth your time. I'm worth all of your time plus some because I'm worth more than you, dude. You don't know who you're messing with. At this point, right, the emo kid was really kind of just showing his true colors and being like, I mean, kid's insecure. That's fair enough. He's trying to act all tough in front of his friends. So once again, Hank's like, he turns around and he's like, all right, man. He's like, dude, I'm just not doing this. Once again, have a good life. Hank turns around, and as Hank's turning around, the emo kid is like, in his head, he's like, I can't let this slide. So the emo kid literally raises up his hand and swings on Hank. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment emo down below. I just want to see how many people made it to the end of this video, as I do appreciate you guys. Best way to support the channel, as always, is just watch a bunch of the videos. The more watch time you give to the channel, the more we get promoted in the algorithm, and I really, really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comment section what you do while watching my videos. I genuinely want to know. Just so you know, all these episodes are on Spotify. It's in the description, the first link. Please rate us 5 stars when you have a chance. If you want to submit these stories, and please do, because, that's how I make these videos, go to my Instagram or Twitter. They're both in the description, but they're also at Connor Pugs. I got a Discord server, link in description, code Connor Pugs for 10% off gamer subs. Let's get back to the story. So Hank, remember, he turns around and Hank's like, dude, I'm not going to deal with you like that. It's not worth my time. So Hank turns around and the emo kid, who's like, I can't let Hank like one up me. Like, I can't let this random kid like, kind of like alpha me in front of my emo kid friends or whatever. So as Hank turns around, the emo kid swings on him, takes his fist. The thing is, though, the emo kid's not like a trained, I don't know, fighter or boxer or something. So obviously the emo kid doesn't make contact with Hank. Instead of making contact with Hank, the emo kid nearly misses Hank, and his like right hook goes right through a rack of clothes. The emo kid was really putting his full force into this too. Because once the emo kid misses and whiffs on Hank, the emo kid flies forward into the rack of clothes. So he basically like pushes himself into a rack of clothes, fails to swing on him. The mall cop, however, did see the emo kid try and swing on Hank, so he walks in there. Hank turns around, and he sees the emo kid on the floor in a pile of clothes, and he's just so confused on what happened. And then, Hank turns around the other way to see a mall cop standing in front of him. So Hank's really confused at this moment. He's like, okay, 1 second ago, I turned away from the emo kid, and a second later, the emo kid is sitting, like, face first in a pile of clothes, and a mall cop is standing above me. Like, this literally makes no sense. And sure enough, the mall cop's like, hey, hold up, everyone, I gotta talk to you guys. And the two emo kids, like, from the back, like, they get scared and they literally run off. They disappear into the rest of the story. It's like, hey, you get back here. But also the mall cop didn't really care that much because the two people that he really wanted to talk to were both Hank and the emo kid who swung on him. So the emo kid gets up, he's like kind of panting a little bit. He's like, and the mall cop's like, hey, I saw you swing on this kid. I know you didn't make contact, but you did try and swing on this kid. Is 100%, like, what's going on here? The emo kid's like, dude, I was just defending myself. And at this point, Hank's like, that's not the case. This kid and I were kind of talking back and forth. He tried to pull down my pants. I made fun of him for doing that. I turned around and he tried to swing on me. At this point, right, the mall cop kind of witnessed the last 60% of this altercation. So he knows for a fact that he saw the emo kid try and pull down the pants and then have an argument. So the emo kid says, well, after I pulled down his pants, this kid tried to swing on me and I just defended myself. And the thing is, right, that was a mistake for the emo kid because the mall cop had been watching the whole thing. So the mall cop knew for a fact that that wasn't the case of what happened. So the mall cop goes on to say, like, dude, I know for a fact that's not what happened. I saw you guys kind of like bickering in the store, and I wanted to make sure that we had no like nonsense going on. Obviously, some nonsense did go on, and I watched the whole thing. I saw you try and pull down this kid's pants. He did not swing on you. I don't know what he said to you that offended you or anything, but it's very clearly that you're the aggressor here, and I can't have that. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna need you to come with me. And the emo kid's like, all right, buddy, go ahead with him. And the emo kid is like looking at Hank and kind of giving him this look of like, come on, bud, like go ahead. He's asking for you. When in truth, the mall cop is not asking for Hank. The mall cop is asking for the emo kid. So the mall cop's like, sorry, man, you must be mistaken. I'm not asking for this guy over here, pointing to Hank. He's like, I'm asking for you. And he points at the emo kid. And the emo kid is so absolutely stunned by this revelation. He's like, at this point, the emo kid is practically speechless. The emo kid is standing there, is just like, you must have some kind of mistake or something. Like, you can't be talking about me. That's insane. Like, there's no way. Like, what do you mean? Hanks is looking at the emo kid with this bit of a smirk. And the mall cop is kind of like, come on, bud. Like, we don't want to have any trouble here. Make this nice and easy for all of us. Just come along with me. And, you know, at this point, the emo kid is looking at Hank and kind of just giving him this look of like, this isn't over, buddy. This isn't over. And Hank is kind of just like, wow, this like a lot just went down in the last 5 minutes, you know, because this was like no longer than like 10 minutes of an altercation. And as soon as the mall cop basically drags the emo kid away, his friend comes rushing up to him, and he's like, dude, like, I just checked out the thing I was getting, and in his hand, he had this, like, skateboard thing or whatever. He's like, dude, I just saw, like, a mall cop over here. I saw some kid getting dragged out of the store. Did you happen to see what happened?